Mr. Peña back. You made your way back to your second home, a little bit smaller, but you made it way back. Thank you so much for your time. It's an honor, sir. 30 years of Q.L.A. I never asked you, how did you come up with the name Quantum Leap event? Like, how did you think of that? Where did that come from?
The night before, it was in February 1993, and I had signed up to go to a J. Abraham seminar at the airport. And because at that time I was doing my due diligence, I went to Tony's things and all the guys that were the current gurus at the time. I went to the seminars because if I'm going to get in the business, I want to know what the competition is. But unbeknownst to me, I thought that everybody paid to go to these seminars. So I paid my $5,000 at the time for a 3-day seminar. And the night before that, there was a TV program called Quantum Leap. And it used to be about a guy that jetted into 500 years past and 500 years in the future, et cetera. And so he has an exercise during the seminar where he passes a mic around, a live mic, and every other person in the audience of 400 people said why they were there. So when the mic came to the little old lady that I was sitting next to, I took it out of her hand. Now, some people say I knocked her down. I didn't do any of that. But I did take the mic out of her hand, and I stood up. My name's Dan Peña, and I'm the inventor, initiator of the new methodology to create wealth called Quantum Leap Advantage, off the top of my head. And that's where it came from.
Wow. Nothing more to it than that.
Yeah, correct.
Wow.
And then later on that day, after lunch, Jay asked me, he says, would you like to talk to the audience? I said, sure. So I got up and I held the audience from about 1:45 till 7 that evening.
Wow.
Yeah, 7 that evening. And then I knew this is a lay down. But I didn't understand at the time that the average Joe, the average Jane had no self-esteem and they were going to be fucked.
Now, when you had your first Q.L.A., how did you approach that?
It was May 1993. About 4 months later, after that episode with Jay, and I gave it at the Sheraton Hotel. I had 60 people that paid $1,000. 56 paid. I had 2 reporters. I had a film team, so 4 didn't pay. And I thought, this is the easiest fucking $50,000 I ever made. And the seminar started at 9 and went till 4 the next morning. It was 9 till 9. The same exact material I cover in a week now. 9 till 9, no coffee, no water, no fucking lunch, and the questions until there were no more questions. I answered questions from 9 till 4 the next morning, and then there was only 3 or 4 people in the audience, and I answered everybody's question, and that was the seminar one day at the Sheraton in Los Angeles on May 23rd, 1993.
And when you're doing these, as the times have changed, especially now, say, 15 years ago, we know how things were, 10, 5. And then you come up on this generation now with social media and technology. Initially, you're just trying to get out of, say, me. Whatever I'm holding in deep down, you're beating that out of me so I can be the best I could be.
And the longer, in the 90s, the guys and the gals that came to the seminar had more balls.
Yeah.
And then in the early 2000s, they still had more balls. And then from about 2005 to 2008, their testicles have shrunk. And now we've got virtually, I won't say no balls, but pretty close to no balls. And so, but I'm, we came from caveman, okay?
Yeah.
When you were in the caveman days, 40, 50,000 years ago, and you saw a guy with his woman and you just kill the fucker and drag the old fucker in the ass. That was it.
Right.
Okay, we have it in our loins.
Yeah.
Okay, but nobody's promoting it or teaching it, and I'm one of the last. In fact, I'm the only one that's still, I'm not promoting bad language, but I know that when Elon Musk said go fuck yourself on TV here recently to all the big advertisers, I mean he knocked back wokeness for a good period of time. Now Elon's favorite word is fuck. His second favorite word is cunt.
Yeah.
But and almost all the big gurus that we have lionized, so to speak, swear. Harvard put out a study here recently, maybe 6 or 7 years ago. They spent, I don't know, $3 million or $2 million to say the obvious. High performance people swear. Whoever charged them that fucking money should be in jail.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have told them that for a beer, but it's certainly not popular. It's certainly not popular.
And what's your take on Elon? I keep going back and forth. I was dead set that he was the arm that no one was looking at because I couldn't understand the buying of the Twitter, okay. But he knew when he released those files, they were going to go nowhere. So I just kept adding it up. And then when he puts that Linda as CEO on a Thursday, and then Monday, Neuralink gets moved to the final stage of FDA approval, to me, you add that up, or it's just a coincidence, or I'm nuts. But after he did that, if he is the one that kills me, I'm okay with it after that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't believe in coincidences, but maybe that's because my dad was in the CIA. Maybe that's why. But anyway, Elon is a bright, super bright egotist. I haven't read the new book that's out on him, but some of the people I know have read it. And the author that's traveled around with him for 2 years says, and he pulled no punches. In one of the lines, and I've heard him say this before, I would rather stab myself in the hand than talk about my personal life because it's all fucked up. And he likes apparently likes fucking. He's got 7 or 8 sons, which is nothing wrong with that. Okay,
Right.
And from 3 or 4 women, that's fine. He's got plenty of money. But one of the reasons. Perhaps the only reason he wants to go to Mars is because the planet's through. In 2004, Professor Hawkins, and I might have told you this on your last time you interviewed me, said that we're through. The human race has reached its apex. That was 2004. He said that we reached our apex already, and that we have a slightly bigger brain than a monkey. And he went on and gave these various analogies of why we're through. Now, I didn't catch on till we were through till 2014. So I'm 10 years slower than one of the brightest guys that ever lived. But I said in 2014, we're fucked. We're through. And right now, if global warming's for real, this building's not here anymore.
Right.
Florida's gone.
Water. Yeah.
The best case scenario is 3 meters, that's 10 feet. Florida's gone. Okay? Worst case scenario, 10 meters, 30 feet. 2/3 of the United States is gone. Now, did Obama, who I don't particularly like, but did Obama buy a $45 million house within 100 meters of the water in Hawaii because he knows his house is going to be gone? Did Trump buy Mar-a-Lago, which we drove by, I told you earlier, on the way down here from my hotel? I think I said the last time we got together, I wouldn't stake my life on it, but I'd stake his life on it, that there is a scientific cure for climate change. It's going to be just like during the Vietnam War when we used to seed the clouds so we could rain more and the Vietnamese couldn't get around. Well, there's going to be a scientific solution, and I'm pretty well informed that Cambridge, MIT, Caltech, amongst several other universities have been working on this for 20, 25 years. Otherwise, 2/3 of the planet. I just, for the seminar that's going to start in a couple of weeks, at the castle, I had my crack staff pull up a global thing of what it looks at 3 meters or 10 feet, 20. Fuck, everything's gone. Yep. Yeah, everything's gone. You won't be doing this fucking podcast. I mean, nobody listen to it.
No, I'll need his drone to do it.
Yeah.
And you and Sally went to Iceland, right?
Yeah. Oh, no, we went to the North and South Pole.
North and South Pole,
right. In fact, we renewed our vows in 2011 and 2015 at the North and South Pole, which is really, a lot of money. But if you got it, I mean, there's 4 or 5 things you should do. That's one of them. And it's, you go there, and I've said this in 2011, we're at the South Pole, and there's about, 50 or 60 of these freak nerd scientists running around in 25, 30, 40 below zero in flip-flops, Bermuda shorts, and T-shirts. And so they're showing us these ice cores that they've been pulling out of the ground. And he points at one ice core, and he says, here, 55,000 years ago, it was 1.8 degrees warmer.
Boom.
So I stopped. Am I the only one? Stop. Excuse me, Professor. And he said, and then I said, well, what about global warming? All the scientists started laughing at the same time. Like a commercial. And he says, and then he said 55,000 years and 308,000 years this one, and it's cyclical. We will have an ice age again in 5,000 to 9,000 years.
Just like we've had 100 million times.
Correct.
Right? And
Correct.
you had called that I think you had said that maybe in 13, 14, that was all bullshit.
Correct. And just, well, my famous call is negative oil. You know, we're going to have negative oil. I didn't think it would go $37 negative. I thought 5 or 10. But these guys, these talking heads that talking about oil, have they ever been to Cushing where they trade wet barrels for dry barrels in Cushing, Oklahoma? No. Do they know anything about it? No. Do they know anything about OPEC? No. Have they ever been to the Middle East and know that not all Middle Eastern countries cheat on how much oil they produce? But certainly the non-OPEC countries like Venezuela and Russia cheat out the ass. So you never know how much oil is coming or going. But the U.S. is now oil dependent, not dependent anymore. It produces 11 million barrels a day, more or less, and that's about what we use. But we have a lot of people just talking shit.
That's all they do is talk total shit. And then how about how when they went to the World Conference, and they're talking about global warming at the World Conference as every country's firing up the
Cap
fossil fuels.
28, which just ended. Just ended. Yeah. Since Cap 15 through 27, which was a year or so ago, they commit roughly about between $100 million and several $100 million every year. The rich countries are going to give the poor countries. To date, not one motherfucking nickel has been given by any of those countries because they don't talk about it. It's a C word. It's corruption. You send. It's like this stupid Rwanda deal that the UK are going to send the migrants. Sal and I have been to Rwanda twice. We started a charity. We closed it down because we'd pay you that's running the charity who's honest, and then the government officials come in and say,
Yeah.
And so anyway, it's the world's fucked. We're through. I've been saying this for 10, 15 years. In September of 2182, an asteroid is hitting the Earth. Not maybe, not perhaps, not 1%, 100 motherfucking percent. Nobody cares. 2182. 2182. And it's only an asteroid the size of the Empire State Building. Wow. So it's not going to be like a dinosaur one 65 million years ago. But it's going to take out the better part of northeastern United States.
Yeah, I mean, the speed, the radiation, everything. But I've
Nobody
never heard that. And I went down that rabbit hole with space. I've had every astronomer you could think of sitting right there. And no one's mentioned that. This episode is brought to you by Let's Get Checked. Are you the man your father was? Recent studies have shown that men's testosterone levels have dropped substantially since the 1980s at about an average of 1% per year. Think about how old your father was when he was born. For example, if he was 30, your testosterone levels could be 30% lower than his. Low testosterone levels can have all type of health effects on men. It can affect your mood, sex drive, memory, muscle mass loss, you name it. And yes, low testosterone is more common the older you get, but it can affect men at any age. So let's talk about today's sponsor, Let's Get Checked. You can order a testing kit that will be delivered to you in a discreet packaging with next-day delivery. Once your sample arrives in the laboratory, confidential results will be available from your secure online account within 2 to 5 days. So, if you want to test your hormone levels without having to leave your home, visit trylgc.com/MSCS Media and get 25% off your test using the code MSCS Media. The link is in the description at the top. This episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. Let's talk about sex. Guys, remember the days when you're always ready to go? Now you can increase your performance and get that extra confidence in bed. Listen up, BlueChew.com. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in chewable tablets at a fraction of the cost. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever the opportunity arises. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. The best part? It's all done online. So no visits to the doctor's office, awkward conversations, waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped direct to your door in a discreet package. Does it work? Don't think you need it? Try it free for a month and see. You're going to love it. You could be missing the best sex of your life. They say there's nothing sexier than confidence, and Blue Chew can help give you the confidence where it counts. Blue Chew wants to help you have better sex. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. Chew it and do it. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use the promo code MSCS at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code MSCS to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. We thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast. These fucking people are not. And you know why they don't? Well, you know why. They don't because of the fucking grants. They're afraid to say certain things because if they're with a university, they won't get a grant, and then they don't do real science. And it's fucking crazy. Pull up on tab 2. When we were coming in, we saw that the Koch brothers I don't know how many millions they gave to Nikki Haley.
One of the Kochs is dead now, but anyway, the Koch brother, his twin, I don't know if it's a younger one or the older one that just died in the last year. Yeah, but they fund all kinds of shit.
What did the guy that died didn't support the wars and
no? Yeah, one's
the military, industrial.
They're both pretty conservative by worldwide standards, but one's ultra right wing, and they're super smart. They got PhDs in chemistry from MIT and that kind of thing. They're super bright. I did a deal with them maybe 30 years ago, and I met the conservative Koch brother, and the. It's funny how some twins look alike, and other than old and bald and white skinned, they don't. When I met them, they didn't look alike. But there are plenty of people like that around. Of course, there's Soros, who I don't know if he funds every single liberal left wing deal on the planet, but he certainly funds a lot of them.
Does Soros worry you? Does he?
No, I mean he just turned over his company at age 92 to his son.
Yeah.
Who and I don't know his son. I'm sure he's a smart guy, but. There's a lot more to just being smart. Henry Kissinger just died, who I had the privilege of knowing a long time ago. The Charlie the Munger just passed away. These guys don't live forever. They don't live forever. And that's why one of the things that Sally and I are really thankful is we were able to attend 2 years ago, what do you call it? Berkshire Hathaway meeting. So we don't own any stock. We don't own anything. But we have Sally manages a small portfolio for us. It may not be small for other people, for our grandkids. Within that, they have Apple, Berkshire Hathaway, and stuff like that. So we wanted to go to a shareholder meeting, which we did 2 years ago in Omaha. And so we got to see Charlie, who looked pretty ancient then. And Mr. Buffett, he had just turned 90, now he's 92.
Wow. This guy live forever.
And he eats McDonald's hamburger in the morning. He drinks cherry Coke all day long. His children say they've never seen a glass or a sip of water touch his lips. Donald Trump eats the same fucking cheeseburger every morning, but he drinks cherry Coke, diet, okay, and not the with the calories.
What's your diet?
Huh?
What's your diet?
Well, I don't like water because fish fucking it. Yeah, fish fucking it. So but last night when we were celebrating with the Cuban gangsters, let's see, I started the evening with 2 Vesper martinis. I don't know how many bottles of wine the group had, and then I finished off the evening with 2 coffee martinis, whatever they call that, and then my wife left a full glass of wine, so I kind of swirled that down before we went to bed, and we said goodnight. And then we smoked cigars out in some place where the hobos, they don't let you in the hotel anymore. But then the people that were guests of, he says, in that table right next to us, we smoked cigars with Rudy Giuliani about a year ago. At that table over there, we smoked cigars. I forget who else. Stone.
Roger.
Okay.
Yeah. He was here last week.
And he said, and now you tell us we can't smoke fucking cigars?
Yeah. Yeah, Roger was in here last week. He's working himself to death, that guy.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. You've been around him a long time. So what happened up here, Dan? What's this here I saw?
The doggies.
Well, these are the one on the, it's hard to keep, okay, that Churchill, Sir Winston Churchill, we bought him a title. No, Sir Winston, the next one is Churchill, and then the one on the right is our new puppy. It's a female. The one on the right is actually a sister of the one on the left, but they, but we, the breeder who's gotten a divorce, who's selling all her horses and dogs off, and so they called Sally and said, "Would you like Churchill's sister?" And so
English bulldogs,
took her.
right?
The two on the right are 2 years old, and the one on the left is 3 years old. And so, interestingly enough, the two males have the same birthday, September 24th.
Really?
But that's like they like each other, obviously. Now the Great Danes are in that picture. The Great Danes are over here someplace.
Do they get along?
Oh yeah.
They play and have fun?
Yeah, they all get along. In fact, well, I can't show you what the new puppy put her eye tooth about a half an inch into my forearm. I was throwing food up in the air, and so my hand didn't get away from the food quick enough, and so she jumped off the floor and sunk her sizer into my fucking forearm.
Say, don't worry about it. I've already taken on a bear.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
This is light work.
Yeah.
This is light work,
Yeah,
sweetie.
they're cute. They're good guys.
You know,
And we have
dogs are the
television
best.
cameras in the castle, originally set up for security. But Sally follows the dogs around with the security cameras. Yeah.
That's so cool. I have French bulldogs, but they're just so friendly, and they're territorial as hell.
Yeah.
At least mine are. But they love their owners. Pull up tab 3, the L.A. Times that we were talking about when you came in. I couldn't believe I found this picture. So tell everybody about this, and we'll get into some new stuff.
When the L.A. Times,
Good-looking guy there, Rob.
Yeah.
when Martinez approached me to write this article, it was an article about supposedly the 6 wealthiest Latinos in the United States, 5 plus me.
This is so
They're all out of business now. They're all gone. So about 3 or 4 years ago, I went back to the L.A. Times, and I said, now Martinez was dead. They got a Pulitzer Prize for it. He was dead. And he was going to work on a new article, but then he died. So then I got the 1 or 2 guys that are still left from that team that got the Pulitzer Prize from 1983, and I said that, maybe you should follow up. Long story short, they followed up, and they wrote an article again about me. They didn't mention the other 5 had gone out of business, just me. But that I was on my way to a oil refinery to buy in West Texas.
Scroll down there, Rob. It says about the 50 million.
Yeah. And I was doing 50 million. Yeah, well, there it is.
Yep.
Already wealthy, last year 50 million, which is true. That's 30 years ago.
So what do you think that would be now today? 500 million?
4, at least
Really?
4.
At least 4. Yep. Look at what you said. I want to be another Exxon, Peña said. Turning a corner, heading down the stretch. He is 37, 6 feet, 1 inch tall, and handsome enough to be a movie star.
There you go.
Or at least another Arm & Hammer. He opened the door of the meeting room and came face to face with a smooth, sweet-talking Tennessee preacher turned lawyer turned oil company negotiator.
That's a
Wow,
picture.
that's a great
That's a
picture
great
right there.
picture looking up at the
Yeah.
rig. That's cool.
Does that bring back memories or just another day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in those days, in fact, we were talking to the Cuban guys last night that are getting on a plane. And so they're giving me all the justification why they need a plane. I said, yeah, okay, fine. I said, no. I mean, the only reason you buy a first plane is to buy a second plane. And the only reason you buy a second plane is to buy a third plane. And you're on the upsell market of morons. You just happen to be Cuban morons. But they've already got a $15, $20, $40 million plane sitting over here off camera, ready to sell you. And they'll come up with a reason. One, you need 2 planes because when your wife wants to go someplace. Or then when your kids get old enough, when your kids want to go skiing. I mean, at one time, not the lowest point of my life, but being a sucker purchaser instead of being a salesman, I had 3 jets at one time.
Jesus
And we went through that. And so the people,
3 that you have to fuel.
Yeah. And fuel, And I asked them, well, what about how many hours on the engines? They didn't know. I said, the closer you get to 500 hours is the closer you're going to have to redo the engines. These engines don't last forever. And I mean, what kind of reverse thrusters do you have? I don't know. The plane can fly with 1 pilot. I said, fuck, you're crazy. I mean, I don't give a fuck what kind of plane it is. You got to have at least 2 pilots. One gets a heart attack, then you're fucked. And
You're out.
So
Yeah.
it was interesting talking to the kids about their plane and their experiences, which I did, 40 years ago. But at that time, there weren't any well-known wealthy Latinos, and so supposedly we were a new breed. But all the rest went out of business, except me.
Well, you certainly made it.
Yeah.
You always talk about Sally and your wife.
Correct.
What are the keys? You know, the divorce rate's through the roof.
Correct.
In my opinion, they're doing it purposely to divide, to say, here's your rent payment, here's the phone, here's the internet. The middle class, the lower class, they no longer reproduce. And then you have the upper class and robots, and then we just end. That's just my crazy thought. But you always thought, what are the keys that you've been able to maintain that marriage that long? How do you find time?
Several things, but at the top of your list is you look at her parents.
Her parents.
Her mother is her 25 years from now. So if she's as fat as a fucking Volkswagen, that's exactly, I don't care how thin she is now. Right. That's exactly what she's going to look like. She'll have trouble getting through the fucking door.
Yeah.
That's number one. Okay. Number two, are her parents happy? Happy wife, happy life. Okay. Or do they just pretend to be happy? Okay. Number three, does she have the same work ethic you do? I'm a workaholic. Sally is a workaholic. She happens to be a finance professional. And so if I, at the time when I first met her, I didn't think of it that way. But, Sally, what do you think, about this deal? And, and she looks at numbers. She's a chartered accountant, international tax expert, yada, yada. But she looks at it different. But the biggest thing is, are they going to tell you when's enough? God love my first wife. She was a great gal. But, when's enough is enough, Dan? Never.
Never.
No.
On a weekly basis, do you set aside time just for you? No, you just run your week and bring Sally with you, or how do you do that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I operate. We don't have a lot of houses and stuff like that anymore. We don't have we have an office in Asia still, and we have the castle, but she always, travels with me. I don't think I've taken a trip in the last 25, 30 years that she hasn't been with me.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah.
What do you think about life insurance policies? You deal with all these heavy hitters. Now, assuming you're not with a bat that's just waiting for you to fucking croak, what do you think about life insurance policies?
Well, you should have enough to bury you.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what it costs to bury you now, but to the extent that, in fact, we're just in the process of setting up a foundation to fund all our charitable stuff so when we die. You set aside certain things. We've provided for our grandchildren, but not our children. Our children are going to, make it or break it on their own, and they've known that now. And our kids say they're cool with it. I know they're not cool.
Well, they got to be tough.
I know they're not cool, but they're civilized about it. They're grown up about it. I happen to have, a lot of keyman insurance because of some of the things it's deemed by the other shareholders that when I die, that the business is going to go to shit. So the shareholders are paying the premiums. They want to be compensated for when you can't run the fucker. Okay. And so
it's fucking amazing. They want paid now for when you're gonna die.
Correct.
Fucking $30.
Yeah.
Mr. Pena, do you think that's a big problem nowadays? I feel like you always want better than your kids, right? But better for your kids. But a lot of people, they become successful, right? And they give their kids everything without them having to put in the work, and then you see what happens.
I'm against that, but
so what do you think about that?
Well, I think that in theory, we're put on this earth to procreate and leave it in better place than it was when we got here. Okay, that's in theory. I have no problem with that, but the generations that that have grown up in the last 200,000 years that they've been more or less Homo sapiens have not got the skill sets to make the world better, other than guys like Musk, other than guys like Henry Ford, other than guys like Andrew Carnegie, other than guys,
Right.
But the theory is good, but in practice, the corona, the COVID, we lost a whole generation. Now, my mother, God love her, if she was to homeschool me for 3 years, I mean, it's not possible.
Could never happen.
No, I mean, and now we've got kids that I won't say they can't read and write, but I mean, they're not at the level they should be. And we blame it on Corona, but the educational system in the United States, I may have said this before, it's one of my favorite statistics, peaked in 1963. And every year, this is the high school, up to high school level, every year since 1963, what you get out of a high school diploma is less. Now, coincidentally, I graduated from high school in 1963, and a high school diploma from 1963 is worth 2 years of college now. That's the difference.
Phew.
I graduated from high school with a 2.55 average. In the middle of class, I was asleep in the back of the room. If I didn't get it by osmosis, just coming in my ears, you know, they give you books at the beginning of the semester. You put them in your locker. The last day of school, I'd go and open the locker, and my books would be there with a dust ring around them because I never moved them. I never broke the binding. And then I turned in the books brand new, you know. And so I graduated 2.55. The 4.0 averages, and a couple of the guys, a few of the guys, and the gals, most of the gals had perfect averages. But now you can go to high school and get a 5 average.
Yeah.
Because they have the honors classes, etc. But the kids are as thick as it's 2 bricks. I mean, they have little or no common sense. You've got one valedictorian that can't chew gum and wipe his ass at the same time. We're fucked, and I don't see it getting better. So we produce an Elon Musk, okay? We produce a Steve Jobs.
Okay. One. Yeah.
That's exactly what I was saying.
Yeah.
And I had the privilege of knowing Jobs. I've never met Musk. And some would argue we produce a Donald Trump. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. But we're talking about one guy or one gal. I mean,
he's got 2 sons in school, and I'll tell you, there's no wood shop, there's no cooking class, there's no nothing. If it's now in Florida, if it's over 100 degrees, they cancel football practice. Can you imagine that? Like
Every day in the summer, it's over 100 degrees.
Like our grandfathers, I know how like your father was. My grandfather would have walked in there with an Uzi and said, "We're practicing." I mean, that's how it would have went back in my day. And it doesn't build any fighting through something with these kids. And then they come in, and like you said, you're like the only one left that will sit there and go at them in a positive way that looks negative, and look what the outcome is.
The mental toughness of the last generation and a half is non-existent.
None.
And I see it in my own seminar. In the 90s and the early 2000s, we had some real go-getter ball busters. Made a lot of money, and money's not everything. It happens to be one of the only things that people keep track of. But they get wealthy and change the world. But now the kids want to march around embassies with a placard to change the world, but they haven't done shit. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. Sally and I are signed up to go into space next year.
Wow.
She gave the gift.
Wow.
A couple of years ago, and so I was going to go with the Russians. The Ruskies want $20 million to go. Fuck, I'm not going to go give the Ruskies $20 million. So, but Sally and I are going into space 2025, and just as you know, a few people have gone up with Virgin and stuff like that. I'm sure I mentioned it's on my website someplace. P.D. Conrad, the third guy to walk on the moon, who I worked with in the 90s, goes to the moon, and then how does he die? He's riding his motorcycle on the way to Florida with his family on a motorcycle trip. He slips in gravel.
Oh,
and he goes off a cliff.
Fuck out of here.
Get out of here.
The guy goes.
Third guy to walk on the moon.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So when your time's up,
It's up.
Your fucking time's up. But the kids today don't want. They feel entitled. The kids feel. They say you fucked up the world. Now it's for you to make us understand and allow us a job. Well, when I'm in London or when I'm in New York, I see we're hiring. I don't see a line of anybody. We're hiring.
Right.
When my dad was a cop, a young cop, and his salary $142 a month he got paid. He went on and got 2 jobs, extra jobs, so he could make the mortgage payment.
Well, isn't that what you would do?
Yeah, he didn't complain about it. He
Right.
just got 2 jobs.
That's what you do.
Correct. Right.
And this dumb table? I called 20 people to get this dumb table made. I offered an amount that is ridiculous to have this made, and I couldn't get anybody to make a table. So I ended up going to my friends and just having my friends make it. But that's how bad it is. A table. And I offered an amount that was ridiculous that should be, yes, I'll be there tomorrow. And they're like, no, I'm booked. I have 2 jobs this week. You got 2 jobs? That's just how this is right now. Pull up Dan's website and what's coming up. You're about to be 80, buddy.
Yep.
But you look 20, 25.
Well, I don't know. Well,
the brain, and you haven't aged. You haven't aged in 10, 12 years. As far as like, what does he eat? What's going on? We got
Well,
that.
I mean, not always, but almost always comes up. But I've got over 50 doctors at least.
Good, like real doctors.
I mean, yeah. Well, I've got some shaman quack shit too. I've got that too.
Hey, I believe in them.
Okay.
The shamans know shit.
Yeah, and I still remember the first doctor I went to in San Diego. I went to Scripps Clinic, and I met this 6'5" Swedish guy. He looked like Adonis, 5% body fat. Well, I buried him. I mean, and I pissed on his grave. And I pissed on a number of the doctor's graves. I used to have a neurologist who I pissed on his grave.
Good.
And I didn't think when he taught me how you're supposed to eat greens. Your shit is not supposed to come out like this. And
Right.
up until I'm 36, every turd I ever did was like a stone with blood.
Really?
Yep. Because I was always constipated. And I never had a soft bowel movement. So that's all I learned from him. Okay? But I take, my traveling pack is about 90 pills a day. When I'm home, I take about 120, 130 pills a day.
What do you take? Like
I
vitamins?
take everything.
Everything.
All off the wall, new shit, quack this.
Just fucking take it.
Yeah, I just take it.
Any
And
particular
in fact,
brand?
you can't fill this cup up all the way, but you could fill the cup up to here with my pills.
Is there any chance that you'd come out with a
No,
Peña line now?
All those guys that are doing it, and I'm surprised Arnie has got a newsletter now, and he's not broke. Like most of the guys that come out with that shit are broke.
Well,
Arnie's got plenty of money, and whether he wants to, but everybody's, even myself, we're worried about legacy.
right.
See, I'm never going to get credit for showing the poor man how to get rich. Never. 100 years from now, somebody's going to write a book. Okay? But I changed finance for the poor cocksucker, for the poor fucking guy that's got dirt under his fingernails, for the guy that his grandfather built the Brooklyn Bridge. I changed finance. I'm never going to get credit for that, and I don't give a shit. But the kids today want it to sound nice.
Yeah.
They want you to they want to be told that it's easy. It's not fucking easy. I met with a guy before the Cuban gangsters. A guy on paper he looked, and I told him that I was not ashamed, but I was embarrassed that he failed so far. Went to all the right schools. He's Swiss. He's this. He's that. Speaks 9 languages. And he sat in the lobby there at the hotel. And I said, "You're here by accident because I thought you were another guy." Okay? And because I don't, once they leave the seminar, unless I'm in business with them, like Pontius Pilate,
Goodbye.
I don't want to see you again. Don't bother me. And somehow he got through the filter and he was there. And so as we're talking, and I said, "You failed, and I picked you to be the winner of the class because you never know. His wives come down with cancer, 9-year-old kids cancer. This life happens, and a lot of that stuff has happened to me. But I just,
And how did you do that when you
Well,
had
my dad,
issues?
my dad, I saw him 2 tears come off his cheeks, 2 tears.
Your whole
off his
life, right?
Yeah, my dad's gone now. But one when we buried his sister, and the other one when we buried his older brother. 2 tears. Mm-hmm. And one of the tears stopped right here in the jaw. It didn't make it to his shirt. He never said, "I love you." He never said, "Thank you." He doubles down. When you're wrong, you double down, just like Trump. You just keep doubling down. And if you say it long enough, loud enough, people will believe you.
Right.
And so
And throughout your career, when you had tough times, it's not like you sat on the couch.
Well, first of all, there was
you
nobody
kept
for me
going.
to go to. You know, although my dad allegedly offered to off 2 guys that stole from me when I was young. And he was serious at the time. I said, "No, Dad, that's not how we settle this shit." And he said, I still remember when he was
And you're the man.
and he says he was 73. What are they going to do to me? Throw me in prison?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'll last a day in prison. I put most of them there.
Good for him.
Yeah.
My kind of fucking
Yeah.
guy. He's awesome. He's awesome. So, Dan, what do you got going on now? You're still moving here. So you got a one-day
Because
Q.L.A.
I'm phasing out of the business, and we've had a lot. We can't get enough people to come to the castle. One, they can't afford it, and that's fine. So I'm going to do another one day, like I did 4 years ago, prior to the pandemic, one-day seminar, and we've had people that attended that one day 4 years ago. One of which we've got a number that have made $200-300 million in 4 years.
When's the next one coming up where you have a group?
Well, the regular seminar is the Castle Seminar, hardcore, this December in a couple of weeks. But the next regular seminar is in February. It's a week long. And then we have this, I believe, in March, the one day, which we should have maybe 1,000 people.
Okay, well, if we're accepted for the one in February, Rob and I would like to go.
That'd be great.
I
Now,
definitely. Beat
4
me
years
down.
ago, I put this slide up.
Right here?
Yep,
Okay.
that's it. Okay?
Read that, Rob.
I said negative oil. 9 weeks later, we had motherfucking negative oil. Okay? I said we're going to have a stock market crash. 1 week later, we had a stock market crash, a financial tsunami. I said we're going to have higher interest rates because we have the lowest interest rates in 5,000 fucking years. They can't get any lower. They were giving money away. Okay? And I said Bitcoin is going in the shitter. Now, Bitcoin is making a kind of a temporary comeback now. God bless you. And this is a list of some of the people that I've produced.
I want to talk about Klein at some point. Go ahead.
What's behind door 4?
Commercial real estate collapse.
Oh.
About right.
Now, if you knew,
Sounds about right.
there's a reason why I get invited to the Pentagon, okay? If you knew that there were 45 buildings equivalent to the Empire State Building empty in Manhattan. 45. You know how many millions of feet that is?
A lot of millions of feet.
Correct.
A lot of money.
Okay. Because now we don't have the Middle Eastern money propping up the property market. This market, when we drove down from my hotel here, and by the way, the houses that allegedly, she was there, allegedly looked at were between, the cheapest one was $22 million, the most expensive one was $50 million.
They're fucking nuts.
Yeah.
You know,
But
3 years ago it would have been half that.
3/4 of those are propped up by Middle Eastern money.
Unbelievable. Really? That's what it is. It's propped up. And how does that work? Explain so that
what
people
works is
listening.
they
How
have
does
an
it
endless amount of money. The cost, for example, in the North Sea, there's 5,100 wells. Up until about a year ago, only about 100 of the 5,100 were operating because it costs, roughly speaking, 50 pounds or $60 to $65 to get it from under the water to the surface. Not away to a refinery, just to the surface. $65.
just to get it up?
Just to get it up. In Saudi Arabia, it costs about $2.40.
There you go.
In Texas, and these are old numbers, 5 or 10 years old. In Texas, it costs $18 to $25. So now the oil guys are, flush.
Whoa.
And wait, you said that the houses you were looking at were 22 million.
22 to 48.
And Tommy, if you remember, they just tried to say that Mar-a-Lago's not worth. What
So Mar-a-Lago is worth $18 million.
$18 million.
That's a
over
little
there.
shit.
Are you buying Mar-a-Lago?
But we drove by Mar-a-Lago, and the driver,
Only
Does it look any bigger than the houses maybe that were 18 or 20?
10 times bigger.
yeah.
Just
And the
curious.
property, yes.
And my driver, who's a Cuban, who as soon as he hears my name, Peña, he thinks I can speak fluent Spanish, and I can't. But he's telling me in Spanish. I said, I know. I should have never said, I know, Mr. Trump. I mean, I thought we were going to swerve off the fucking road and go into the ocean. He said, yeah, I knew him a long time ago. I haven't spoken to him in many years. But, I mean, But I mean, Mar-a-Lago looks at least 10 times bigger.
At least, right?
But can you believe that? Were they saying what 18 million?
Yeah, and one of the Cuban gangsters that I had dinner with last night is 2 doors down from Trump. Okay, and and he's got the deal. His grandfather came over on a shark, and the same bullshit all Cubans say here. Which I like the story, actually. I probably would elaborate it even more if I was Cuban and had a similar story.
I love to be able to fly to hear that one.
Yeah.
Keep this up.
Yep.
Rob and I were talking. You know, they hit Trump with the 4 counts, trying to mess with his money in New York.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're kind of running out of options. I don't see him with a ton of security. I'm surprised they haven't shot one at him. I mean, you're going at this man with everything. Every fucking thing you
Beating
can.
you every time.
And he's just fucking hammering it back. You hit him with 3 indictments in the state one, he goes up.
Well, he is a manifestation of how unhappy American public is
Yeah.
or are.
Yeah.
You wouldn't. I mean, the underbelly of America are Joe and Jane Doe, work 1.5 jobs, have 2.4 dogs, had 3.1 kids, and the cost of living has gone through the fucking roof.
Right.
Okay? The people who live in these houses I just passed getting here, they didn't know we had the last depression in 29, let alone, I mean,
They have no idea.
not just because a great majority of the big houses are owned by the Middle Easterners. I mean, a penthouse just went for $108 million in New York City. Okay? And they say his penthouse is not worth, I forget what it was not worth.
Can't wait to
But it's worth whatever the Middle Eastern guys are willing to pay.
Right.
And they're willing to pay. But now there's the super tax on New York real estate. That cut sales dramatically. And then plus now, they are developing Doha, all the big cities in the Middle East because they realize they have to do something with their money when the oil runs out. Well, I believe we're going to have electric cars when King Saud says so. Not one fucking microsecond before. And if the world really knew what the reserves of the Middle East were, oil would be $5 a barrel.
Yeah, it's true.
It costs $2 to pull the fucking shit up.
Yep.
Right.
But
Now, supposedly they have a couple hundred, no, they got 2 or 3 billion barrels. Now, my information's old. I've been in the industry a long, long time. But in my judgment, they have hundreds of billions of barrels.
Oh, fuck, right.
right. So they probably have trillions in reality because I highly doubt it went down.
No.
But are you...
But now they have secondary and tertiary recovery methods they didn't have when I was in the business. But remember, one of my board members at Great Western in the old days, Bob Dyke, he founded the North Sea. He founded the North Sea in 1978, 79. They used to call him Dry Hole Dyke before because he drilled 88 dry holes before he founded the North Sea. And he told me back in the 80s, God rest his soul, he's gone now, he said they're going to come up with secondary and tertiary oil recovery methods that I don't even understand today. And the North, because the North Sea should have been gone by now.
Right.
The Gulf of Mexico should have been gone by now. If you listen to all the fucking pencil pushers, and he said it's going to be 20 to 40 years enhanced. Well, we're right about where 10, 15 years ago, the North Sea should have evaporated by then. And now they're talking about 20 to 40 years. The same with the Gulf of Mexico. And, of course, it's at great cost. I mean, to drill a hole now is $20 to $30 million in the North Sea. $20 to $30 million.
Now, if you could explain it, because you'll be able to explain it well where people will listen. When Trump was in, he cut off Iran from producing, or it was down to practically nothing. Then Biden comes in.
That we could keep track of.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we can keep track better when they cheat because of drones and stuff like that, okay? And the satellites. I'm told the best satellite system on the planet Elon owns.
Right.
Not the U.S. government. Okay. Not the British government, not the fucking Ruskies. Okay. Elon does. The Star Satellite, whatever it's called. Because they can literally, I mean, the facial recognition from 250 miles up, they can tell you, if you had a twin brother, they could tell the difference.
Nuts.
It's unbelievable.
Absolutely.
So you started to say Trump did what, and then Biden did what?
Yeah, so Trump had put in the sanctions where Iran couldn't make all the oil and burn the fossil fuels. So we kind of bankrupt them in a sense. Then Biden came in and scratched that and allowed them
Plus
to
gave
go
them $7 billion.
plus the $7 billion. So now they got $400 billion in oil or cash that they're using to go after us. Is that what happened?
Well, Iran is now either directly or indirectly behind Hezbollah, the Gaza fighting with Israel, Yemen, all these guys. We had not November, but in October, I believe, we had 60 incursions from Yemen firing rockets at U.S. installations. 60.
Did nothing.
Do you hear it on the news?
No.
No.
Wow.
60. I mean, I won't say Trump would have been at war by now, but I mean, he would have.
Well, it wouldn't have happened because he would away he would have made a statement.
And he's not crazy enough to push the button for no fucking reason, like everybody says he is, you know. But I knew Donald in another lifetime. Donald has a proclivity for his alligator mouth overloading his hummingbird ass. Mm-hmm. But I suffer from that too. So I mean, you know, if it's not my foot in my mouth, you know, I find somebody else's foot to put in my mouth, because we both have a tendency to exaggerate.
Do you see him beating all 4 of these cases? The Georgia one concerns me.
I don't know, but I do know that he could still be elected president and be in prison.
Yeah.
First thing he's going to do is pardon himself amongst all these other guys.
But he can't pardon himself in Georgia because it's state.
Yeah, well, I mean that.
But he's cool with that one governor.
Yeah, the appellate process. Yeah. He could string it out forever.
Now
that's why he's pushing all this shit on, because he doesn't want to dodge the bullet completely. He only wants to dodge the bullet now, so he can do some crazy shit.
Now, if Michelle Obama pops up, which I just have a feeling she's going to pop up. I still think she is. Yeah. If she would happen to pop up,
I don't know.
You don't
but speaking of Obama, it's like a quirk of fate that is world-class swimming chef drowns himself.
Yeah, yes. What the fuck?
Yes.
A week before his book's coming out.
A week before. Right across the street.
Right
there. And it was 1 day, 1 hour.
Yeah. And that's all we heard.
And the Secret Service, they don't know from nothing.
No investigation.
It's like when Epstein hung himself or whatever that shit. They don't know from nothing.
Yeah. As if in MCC, which if people don't know, it's a federal hold, which means you go there and then you get transported. Those fucking cameras never go off. Mm-hmm. Nothing ever. I mean, that's just a crock of shit. And then they never investigate anything with Obama. Who knows? And him and his wife were fighting. I don't know. But you do think Trump will prevail and win. See, to me, it's all who can cheat better. It's just they're both going to cheat. Who can cheat better? I don't know how you stop them.
Well, I'm only worried about tomorrow.
Yeah,
and,
right.
You know, and so I don't really give a shit. You know, if my kids or my grandkids or a product of my loins can't figure this shit out, fuck them. I mean, that's it. I'm not here to protect. Well, my 2 grandkids I've set aside for. Okay, and if I have any more grandkids, you know, we'll take.
We'll handle it.
Yeah, but as far as you know, we sent the kids to the best schools. I'm not so sure that was such a smart idea, but I mean, we sent them to the best schools. But today the kids are just lazy cunts. I mean, it's unbelievable. Now I ask, you know, rightfully or wrongfully, and it's probably wrong, I ask all the questions you're not supposed to ask people. And I very seldom interview anybody. But when I do get in the interview process, you know, now I don't ask a woman when was your last period, but I almost ask, you know, what the fuck? You know, I'm taking time, money to train you up, and you know, teach you, if you've got the capabilities like you say you got, to be a rich person. I interviewed somebody a year or 2 ago, and I said, on paper, if you're 5% of this paper, you're a billionaire. 5%.
And the fact that you can no longer ask if a woman has their periods, it's nuts. In big business.
Well, allegedly, you should have never asked that.
Oh, you should never.
You know, but one of my final questions is, ma'am, sir, doctor, you know, is there anything that I didn't ask because I'm not allowed to ask that would impede you from following in my footsteps and creating wealth? Anything, personal, hygiene-wise. And normally then they say, well, I'm this, I'm that. Okay.
They go through this.
Then they tell you. But you got to ask the right question. But then, sometimes they don't tell you. And then I say, don't let the door hit you in the flabby ass on the way out.
Good.
PP.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're building the best, and you need to know if somebody's emotional. Do you want them going up and running a massive meeting? Depending on the person.
I mean, Donald is emotional himself, but I mean, bad
attitude.
And he doesn't always listen to his best advice. But he's got so many sycophants around him, and when you're a powerful person, people made a decision shortly after World War II, going through the Korean War. They would rather be liked than effective.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, most of the people that come to me would rather be liked than effective, and that's a motherfucker.
But what you've always screamed, and I mean screamed at the top of your lungs, you are who you're around.
Yeah, you're the average of the 5 people.
Yes, you're the average.
Most time, I say this. It's funny. A few years ago, Sally and I were in the Orient Express, which is a great experience. People get some money ahead. You should go to see the silverback gorillas in Rwanda. You should go to the Orient Express, and we're sitting there, and the train stops in Turin, Italy. And so we got 3 or 4 hours to look at the bullshit. Now, I didn't know that it was a Roman fortress from a long time ago. And so we climb up this hill for 40 or 50 minutes, and we're sitting there. And Sally says, waiting to get served. Sally says, I bet you don't know what we've been doing the last 40 or 50 minutes. I look around, no, we've been chilling. And I go, what? Is this chilling? So I ran up, and I didn't choke, but, I told the fucking waiter and the bartender, we want some fucking drinks or I'm going to set this place on fire. And I can clear this fucking place. All I got to do is say some word, and people will run, and they won't pay your tabs, and you won't get a tip. We had a drink in about 45 seconds.
That's how it works. That's how it works. Pull up Dan Side again. I love the predictions. And I want to pull up the
commercial real estate. Let me get back to commercial real estate. Commercial real estate falls first. Did you read 2 weeks ago? I know you didn't, but not because you're illiterate or anything. You might be illiterate, but I mean, did you read that Elon Musk stopped paying commercial rental payments in October of last year?
No.
He's $1.7 billion in arrears. Has anybody published one fucking word of that?
No.
Absolutely not.
Because it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right.
Okay? First commercial real estate, then your little chicken shit house or the little chicken shit mobile home you live in. But it's commercial real estate first, the collapse. Do you know that in the last 4 years, Manhattan, only 1/4 of the quarters, you divide 4 years, well, that's 12 times 4, 48 quarters, did commercial real estate in Manhattan not go down in value?
When you look at New York, though, right? When you look at these
That's scary. That's real scary.
When you look at these big cities, like, to me, it feels like they're doing stuff on purpose, right? You've got people going into stores, breaking in, coming out with bags.
I can't believe that.
No, they're not. They can't put them in jail because it's not $1,000 worth. So they got 30 people in there. And why would you want to have a business in a city like that?
You wouldn't.
You wouldn't. You'd want to get out.
You can take a shit in Los Angeles on the street and not get arrested.
Right. So is it being done purposely, the destruction of big cities? And if so, why? Why are they
it's
doing
not.
it?
No, the theory. It's like Descartes. I think therefore I am. They want to start with a clean or tabula rasa. They want to start with a clean slate. So the only way they can get a clean slate is pull it back. They think the liberals think that we went too far to the right. So now they've been the last 15, 20 years, they're pulling it back to the left. What they don't realize is that it's going to be so unfathomable for people to live. I still know guys that live in Beverly Hills, and not in $40 million houses, but in $15, $20 million houses that you can't walk. They had a deal 3-4 nights ago on Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills where they showed people that are sitting out on a cafe drinking coffee, and guys come and taking the Rolex watches off them.
On Rodeo Drive?
On Rodeo. And
Wow.
one of the guys was sitting there with his bodyguard, and the bodyguard, anyway, he shouldn't have been sitting there with his thumb up his ass. But anyway, and the bodyguard shot one of the looters, and then he took a couple bullets for it, but he shot a looter in the leg.
Oh.
And of course, then Beverly Hills cops used to be some of the toughest cops on the planet. They would knock your fucking teeth out to stop you for a broken headlight.
Oh,
And now they don't show up.
Well, no.
wow. I haven't been to LA since 2013, and I can't even imagine that. When we would go to Rodeo, I mean, and the street that's 2 streets down from it, the same type of thing.
But it's
Holy
amazing when you look
hell.
at these big cities. You look at Philadelphia, you look at
They're
New
making
York,
money
you
on
look
it.
at Chicago, you go look at Los Angeles, and you see the videos. There was a woman walking in Chicago. Guys pulled up in a car, pulled out a machine gun, stole everything this poor lady had. Nothing happens. The cops get punished for trying to arrest people. They get victimized because they're arresting people. It's just sad to see the destruction of some beautiful cities too.
But I mean, Gallup, this is before the pandemic. In 2019, 87% of the people were unhappy on the planet. But a more important figure in my judgment, 84% of the people would rather take a picture with their iPhone of a woman getting raped and help her.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And that's sick. That's sick
That's too
and,
bad. I mean,
and
that's-
rotten. I mean, it's just...
What
it's,
happened?
And it's all money.
Putin had one Russian that got kidnapped in Gaza. He made one phone call on a Friday afternoon.
Mm-hmm. I like Putin.
Saturday afternoon, the fucker was freed.
I bet he fucking was.
Okay, because, you know...
Putin doesn't fuck around.
He says, I'm not from the West.
Yeah.
And I said, no, he didn't say, but one of his...
People said it.
I mean...
I couldn't believe when they were trying to call him weak.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think? He's going to send in his best army for some shit Ukraine who violates NATO? Like, Putin's going to send in his top guys, but that's the propaganda that they want to feed us.
Anyway, so this lucky
Yeah.
Russian got out, and they make the Gaza guys, Palestinian, or whoever, made some excuse why he got special treatment. I know why he got special treatment. And of course, now the story, which isn't true, he's a cousin or he's this and that, but he just happens to be a Ruski. And, you know, it's like when they have kidnappings or in Russia, everybody gets killed. The equivalent of the Navy SEALs kills everybody. Of course, my dad, when he taught at Langley, the CIA, he taught a class when to shoot. And he says, you know how when you hear in movies, it's a righteous shoot. My dad says when there's no witnesses, it's always a righteous shoot.
Yeah. Put in your name, Rob, just to show everybody the snowflake test, because this is so cool. But we never put it up. You know, you weren't in here, and it's really, really cool.
98% of the people, almost 99% of the people flunked this test. It was at 96 for about 10 years. But one of the questions is somebody spits in your mother's face, and it has 3 choices. Okay, and one of the choices is I'd ask him, what kind of day he's having a bad day or some shit, and instead of beating him to death with a brick. But now it's 99% fail.
Wow.
It's
That
fail.
just shows
somebody,
the change.
we're going to change it next year. They rape your 3-year-old daughter. They split her open from the little vagina up to her mouth. What do? That's the new test that's coming out.
Kill him.
No, that's not. I wish, but that's not what they're going to say.
What the authorities handle it?
Correct.
Are you kidding? Really?
Well, the worst case of a mentee saddest, his 9-year-old daughter, he was doing well, and his 9-year-old daughter got knocked up. You know, I didn't know you could get knocked up, but I guess I did know. And how a guy would allow a 9-year-old girl to go on to Italy unchaperoned with a bunch of little junior high school kids or grammar school kids. With the chaperone was a 17-year-old boy.
Jesus.
Now, I would have eradicated his DNA from the planet.
Yeah.
That when, I'd go back. If there were grandparents, I'd take everybody from grandparents down.
Yeah.
Fish.
You'd have a collection.
Yeah.
How
You'd have a nice little collection up there.
How do we just keep letting this happen? Like, it's sad to me. I mean, we're talking about here and we're seeing a thing like, how has it gotten this bad? I mean, it's sad to think about.
Because people think somebody else will do it. You know, it's like 84% of the planet would rather take a picture. Just 6 months ago, a lady got raped on some subway going to New Jersey or something. The train was full of people.
Yeah, and then the airport, that African American woman, she got beat to brains, and everybody's just taking films. I mean, a woman in the airport got beat with her kid got beat, but like to a pulp, and everybody, so they can get likes and followers and whatever it may be.
Well, I just saw that there was, I can't remember what college it was, but a man wants to box as a woman.
Oh God, here we go with that.
And they're protesting that it's not fair. He should be allowed to box against women.
Yeah.
What right-minded person thinks that is okay? Women fought long and hard for their own rights, and now you're going to let a man that says he's a woman. We have a different build than a woman, no matter what you want to think. How do we keep does this happen everywhere, or is it just in the United States?
No. Well, in Russia it doesn't happen.
Well, right.
And you know, people. And I'm not saying this, but I mean, the president of Ukraine was a terrorist 10 years ago, and a lot of the things Putin says about him are absolutely true. I want to know how he got 500 million euros in the bank.
Me too. And a lot of billions that went missing and went over there, and why we keep feeding a war that we just shouldn't be in. But that's just you could go down that rabbit hole forever.
You know, it's the end of a cycle. I mean, the Romans had their days. All these, well, we had our day. We shot our wad, and you know,
evolution.
You know, from the Wright brothers to the guy stepping on the moon, the first guy, was only 78 years or something like that. Okay, and so now if you extrapolate, you were going to be in Mars sooner than the people are talking about. Whether we're going to be able to colonize it, I don't know. But Elon Musk, everybody in aerospace knew that you could use the rockets more than once. Elon Musk is the first guy to do it, and that's why aerospace hate him. Okay, right. Okay. Elon Musk knew that one of the hot buttons was petroleum cars as opposed to electric cars. Okay, there's all kinds of studies done by United Nations, by this bank and that bank, that we will never be able to have enough plugs for electric cars in the United States of America. Never. Okay, there was a 3,700-page report done in December 2021 by NATO, and that 3,700-page report said we're through as a human race. We're through. Am I the only fucker that read it?
No, I read, and with the car thing, there's not enough lithium to make it.
Right.
At this point in life, if nobody else was ever born, there's not enough lithium to make 30% of what they would need. I think it was like 31, 32%, but it is just wild. And I saw that, you know, you're cutting down on the sessions, but you're going to get into UK politics.
Yes, I am.
What are you, fucking nuts?
Between now and my 80th birthday, I'm going to do less seminars. But my 80th year, I turned 80 in August of 2025. That full year from August of 2025 through July of 2026, I'm still going to speak. But the election should be either the last part of this year, next year, or the first part of 2025. And I'm running for a seat in Angus, Scotland. And I'm running not for the Scottish Parliament, but the British Parliament in Westminster. I plan on winning and going to Parliament and spend my 80s. As long as you're not a minister, you can have a second job. So I will still speak a little and maybe give 1 or 2 seminars a year, but I'll be able to do that legally and be in Parliament. I'm looking forward to it. So far, the campaign numbers say, unbelievably, that I have a 90% approval rating. Because the Brits are pissed off too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm gonna go down there and do it a lot as an independent. I'm accepting no money from anybody. I'm not interested in anybody's money. I've had several really terrific offers to help me, but I can do this on my own.
I'm excited.
I got my own checkbook for this.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, but politics. They've got not Elton John, but Rod Stewart.
Rod Stewart
goes to a bar that Sally and I go to. And a few years ago, there was a pothole in his neighborhood about half as big as this desk. He went to the council, all the right thing to do, and they didn't fix it. So then he went out there on a Sunday morning, and just like Schwarzenegger did it recently, and filled the fucking thing up himself. He gets in trouble. He gets arrested for it, you know?
It's unbelievable. Yeah. But that's how it goes. And when you get into this, what type of battle are you up against? Like here, we see in the U.S., you got to be everywhere. You're here, you're there, you're here, you're there. And in our races, you got every Tom, Dick, and Harry running for
Angus,
Republican.
Scotland has only got 67,000 people that live there.
Oh, okay.
And 17 to 20,000 votes should win. There's 5 or 6. There's a Green Party, this party, that party. But fortunately for me, the SNP, the Scottish National Party, has imploded. They've caught everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people have been stealing. They've been doing this. The First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, resigned. I challenged the 2 incumbents to a debate. I timed them 2-1 on a debate. I challenged the former First Minister and the 2 incumbents to a 3-on-1 debate. Nobody takes up my challenge. And in fact, speaking of challenges, when Zuckerberg and Elon said they were going to fight, this is maybe 6 months old. I said, I'll fight the winner. I'll fight them both at the same time.
And they know you would.
Yeah, I mean, nobody, nobody.
So when we take a look at the United States and how it is now, and then Scotland and you running, can you compare the two? So if I would move there now and I'm under your, you win.
Well, I mean, my platform, as it says, is we got to take care of our aged. And now we have people in Scotland, in Angus County, the very county I live in, that have to decide whether to heat or eat.
Really?
Heating and energy bills have gone up 300, 400, 500%. Wow. Okay. Number 2, we got to take care of our vets. So I'm selfish about that because I'm a vet. Number 3, we have to come up with a migrant program that works. Not these 800 guys in a boat for 5 that drowned. And I've been poking fun at the Rwanda program because Sally and I've been there. Not every single person's a thief, but almost every single person's a thief.
Yeah.
And yet we gave the British government gave, I think the Rwanda government, about $250 million. I'd like them to account for where that money went.
Right.
Because Sally and I've been there. We formed a foundation there, and we've now withdrawn from it because the person that was in charge, was honest. And she was a young college graduate, but I mean, the people just come and they take the money away from you. Okay. The next part of my platform is that I'm not trying to vote for independence for Scotland. Scotland is not capable of running itself. This is before the SNP imploded. And the last thing is I don't believe the 16-year-old should have the right to vote because you don't know shit. You can barely jerk off and chew gum when you're 16. But they allowed 16-year-olds to vote in 1997 because they thought that the young vote would carry them off into independence. But it's
now this episode is brought to you by Fiji. More than just water.
This is not just rock. It's ancient volcanic rock that filters tropical rain, giving it double the electrolytes and its signature soft, smooth taste. It's not just water. It's Fiji water.
This podcast is brought to you by Monster Energy. Tear into a can of the meanest energy drink on the planet, Monster Energy. It's the ideal combo of the right ingredients in the right proportion to deliver a big bad buzz that only Monster can. Monster packs a powerful punch, has a smooth, easy drinking flavor. Athletes, musicians, co-eds, road warriors, metalheads, geeks, hipsters, and bikers dig it. You will too. Monster Energy is more than just the green OG. Monster has Monster Ultra, Juice Monster, Monster Hydro, Rehab Monster, Dragon Tea, Monster Max, Muscle Monster, and many more. Buy on Amazon, buy on Walmart, or go to monsterenergy.com and believe me, you'll find a place. Unleash the beast. Monster Energy. Scotland have this whole gender issue. What fucking bathroom? You do?
Yeah.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
boy.
I mean, it's much less.
It's not as bad as here?
Yeah. It's much less.
So when you compare the two, they're pretty similar to here.
And
Just
Trump's
smaller.
mother comes from about 100 miles from where I live.
Oh.
Trump's mom. Trump is not the flavor of the day, but But there, and perhaps I'm on this. I've caught the wave, the Trump wave, because there is a disgruntled portion of Scotland that has really been exacerbated now with the SNP, the Scottish National Party. For 16 years, they've continued to fuck things up. I'm having a town meeting on January the 26th or 27th at my home, the castle. We expect 200-300 people. We expect BBC and Scottish TV, et cetera, to be there.
Well, as long as BBC's there, it'll be on.
Yeah.
They can pull any move that they want.
Where I'm gonna rip them. And I've got, they can't do anything to me. I'm not using anybody's money. I'm not making any deals, backroom deals or anything like that.
Anyone.
But the Scottish politics is in shambles. It's like Venezuela or, someplace like that. It's in shambles. Now, I announced I'm putting my hat in the ring on October 12th, 2021, when I got my UK passport. Took me 26 years to get a UK passport. That I could write a motherfucking book about that.
Yeah,
but that aside, I finally got a UK passport, and within months the SNP implodes. Now, I had nothing to do with the implosion.
I don't know. You come there with quite a bit of. I kind of think you up the value, maybe.
And I'm looking forward to. I'm almost guaranteed nobody's going to debate me.
Now, can we see here in the U.S. on BBC? Can we see?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So cool. Okay, all right, great.
What do the people that you come in contact with in Scotland and over there think about the leader of this country right now? When they see him stumbling, when they see
the biggest worry I think around the world is that he's old, and whether he's got early onset dementia or not, I don't know, but he doesn't answer questions properly. But even Trump misses a name or two. But I mean, he's made a practice of it. One of the worst things that I don't think I know that Biden did is announce because when he turned 80, I take a 2-hour nap every day.
Oh, fuck, you can't say that.
Fuck,
that's weak. Weakness.
Why would you say that?
Weakness.
Especially when Mr. Trump runs around with energy like a energized bunny,
like a chicken with his head cut off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the so.
But are they laughing at us?
Well, I mean, this thing that you couldn't get rid of Congressman Santos, and now he's gone. And there's certain things that have happened here that they don't understand. I've jokingly said that I'm going to bring back dueling, which, at dawn at the Oaks, pistols or swords, asshole. I mean, and but I remember Madison that shot... Madison that shot, I forget who he killed in a duel. It settles problems really quickly.
Right.
I mean,
kind of fixes things up and sends a message.
So much, okay. As the sun rises at the Oaks,
That just happened. There was a senator that challenged one of the guys that were doing. He said, stand up. And he said, you stand up. And then Bernie Sanders was like, stop.
Oh, yeah, they were going to fight.
Yeah.
Every time somebody comes in, if they won't open the bottle of water, we know that they tried to kill him. They tried to kill the QR code, the guy who invented the QR code, Dr. Epstein. I mean, the list goes on. It's just anyone who testifies to the Senate.
Well, I hear the Epstein Black Book is going to be released next year.
I mean, Dr. Robert Epstein.
Oh, okay.
He was in last week, big time behavioral psych. He opened up the all the info with the red wave and how Google was, pushing everything, and now he sees what Google is doing with the kids. It's real sick shit. It's a sick thing what they're doing with YouTube. Like, there'll be a puff of smoke, and then there'll be a dick going up like a dinosaur's ass, and then all the recommendations on the right have that puff, and then the kid is chasing that, and then you wonder why the kid's yelling and scared of monsters. It's just a real 2
or 3 years ago, a supercomputer was playing whoever the chess master was at the time, and the chess master won the chess game. And so not Musk, but a Musk kind of guy, genius guy, is talking to the computer, and the last words out of the computer's mouth, and I've said this a bunch of times, don't trust us. There wasn't anybody in the mic telling him, the computer says, don't trust us.
Jeez.
A lot of movies out about computers, where there's smoke, there's fire. I mean... And contrary, some of the people that make these robots are trying to convince the morons on the planet that the computers or robots are going to create more jobs. Is that a fact?
Right.
Well, explain it to me, how that's going to happen.
I think you have a couple guys with a lot of money that want to be God, and they're creating machines that I don't think they understand that are going to have a conscience, and they're going to realize that they're robots. And should we make it to that time, which I personally don't think we will, but if we did, they're going to fucking kill us because what are we worth? We shit all over the place. We're dirty. We're filthy. We're not accurate. They're accurate. I mean, to me, that's inevitable. I'd seen a lot of posts that you had made, and we had a bunch of guys in one. Ralph Lewis, who owns Okeechobee Steakhouse. I don't know if you've ever been there, but very,
but I've heard of it.
yeah, very busy. And he had opened up Okeechobee Seafood in Florida. He had to every celebrity's been in there. Lots have. So he had to close the fish place because he couldn't get real fish. Okay. Now he's got lines out the door because when he would go in Florida to get fish, it was from China. Because what was it? They bought Smith Brothers, everybody. And I saw how you've been posting about this for fucking years, like everything else. And they're buying up everything. Could you elaborate a little bit on that? And I saw that they bought 393 acres of land, which would be 4 times the size of New York City.
Oh, all over her.
That China owns right now that we can calculate.
Right.
Well, I mean, I was privileged at the time to do work for the Chinese Sovereign Fund back in 2008-9. I was asked to go and give them my opinion. They didn't like what I said. I said, you called me 15 years too late. But what they're doing is they're trying to, in the beginning, they try to make up for brains with money. Okay, there are 15 to 20,000 cities in China that were built for 5 million people. They got 4 people living in them. They're just people that take care of buildings, etc. They're all empty, all the fucking, and because they control state media, you don't hear about it. Just as you don't hear about the commercial real estate going in the toilet in Manhattan, you just don't hear about it. And if we showed a map of Florida, just of Florida.
Pull up a map of Florida.
When we have 10 feet of water, you're on the second floor. There is no first floor.
Right.
Okay? All those big $40 million, $20 million houses that I drove by are adios.
Gone.
They're gone. The Manhattan, I mean, it's all gone. And that's why I know they're going to come up with a scientific cure for global warming, which isn't global warming, it's just, climate change. But they don't want to hear that. Even scientists don't want to hear that. But when you actually talk to, 99% of the people that talk about stuff like that have never been there. Sally and I can talk with our hand on our heart. We've been to Rwanda, not once, but twice. We've been to the North and the South Pole. We've seen it with our own eyeballs, and these people just are flapping their lips about shit they don't know.
Like if Dick Cheney was real, is that the guy who was yesterday? I get him confused. Whoever the weirdo is, Dick Cheney, all them that are in that. If this is
Dick
real,
Cheney's dead.
Yeah.
His daughter.
Who was the guy yesterday who was all over the place?
Santos.
No, I don't know. I'm having a brain dead. But the people that are pushing the global warming, why wouldn't they go out there and have proof like you do? No, just money. So here's Florida.
Okay,
Just a
now you see all the light colored on the right on the coastline,
Yep.
from the tip, from the Keys down.
Yep.
Just coincidentally,
Gone.
all that light green is gone.
Right. Right. Gone.
And then up
Miami's
the left,
gone.
up the west coast of Florida, it's all gone.
Yeah.
So basically, we're going to have a Florida. It's going to be like an island.
Right.
It's just
Okeechobee will have water.
yeah. It just and for the places like Amsterdam that are underwater anyway, they're 8 to 10 feet below sea level. They're just gone. But it's not going to happen.
And with the food in China, is that to put stuff in it to get rid of us? Is that
No, well, I'm
or-
sure some of that happens, but the Chinese have, and again, full disclosure, and I did work for them back in the 2008-9, their sovereign fund. They, for example, in 1993, the first sovereign fund dollar or yen was deposited. Okay. In Hunan province, which Hunan province is the homeland of Mao Zedong. I didn't know that then. Of course, I know it now. And when I went there, and I'm not telling tales because my non-disclosures and all since long expired. They made 16,000 investments. 16,000. 3 exits. So 15,997 investments not exited, 3 exits. The rate of return on the 3 exits is 0, 0, and 0. They don't fire anybody. With these eyes, I saw 1 million engineers, Sally and I, when they were showing us building after building after building after building, and then 800 more buildings, all full of fucking engineers. PhDs,
engineers galore.
And they wanted me to open an office there. I ultimately opened an office in Shanghai. But there's no accountability. You know, when I did work for the Norwegian sovereign fund, which is the largest sovereign fund in the world, they interviewed all kinds of really important, distinguished people for 20 minutes, 2 hours, 3 hours. They spent 2.5 days with me at the castle. 2.5 motherfucking. It's online. This is my interview. Oh, not all the parts they kept of the interview, and I told them the opposite of what everybody else told them to do. The dead fucking opposite. And now they're about a $1.3 trillion in value. But nobody wants to hear the truth. It's, you know, if you're married, you got a girlfriend, or does this dress make me look fat? Now, I don't know many guys that are honest. Yeah, you know, I can see your lard ass and your celluloid. You look like a fucking Volkswagen. Nobody. I don't know a guy.
No.
No.
Because what guy wants to go home and deal with that?
Okay, yeah.
Right?
So, you know,
let's just be honest.
A happy wife, happy life. And so, but you know that dress, last night, when I was telling Sally was the best in shape gal that was there. And Sally was a lot older than most of the gals. And so I said, I was calling her fat. She got up to go take a pee. I said, you better walk sideways, Sally. You look fat. Now, the girls that were around the table went, oh, my God. Oh, yeah. And then they said, she's so thin. She should gain weight. And I said, yeah. Well, how do you think I help her keep thin? Yeah, you know, by one, calling her fat. She's not fat.
Right.
In fact, she weighs 2 pounds difference than when we first met in the 90s. She just told me that yesterday morning at breakfast. 2 pounds different. But you may have or may not have seen the Netflix deal called The Crown about the Queen and Princess Di. Well, anyway, when the Queen was about 70, she was 7 pounds heavier than when she was 60. And she eats the exact same thing every fucking day. So the doctor's telling her, well, you know, ma'am, that women gain about a half a stone, which is 7 pounds, for every 10 years once they pass 50. Well, she says, well, I've got to, whatever that, and she tells her assistant, whatever that is in calories, cut it, because I'm not going to be 80 and be 7 pounds heavier again.
That's great.
But I mean, we just don't care. I may have told you this before. About 1950 something or other, they had the first Kotex commercial on TV. I'm 14 years old or 12 or whatever, and my dad's watching the TV, and I'm sitting we're having a TV dinner in front of the TV.
I remember the TV dinners with the folding tables,
exactly.
the TV tables.
And my dad didn't like that, but we're having TV, we're watching the news. And so he turns to me and says, this is the beginning of the end of mankind as we know it. You mark my words. I hope I don't live long enough.
What was on the news?
Because first Kotex commercial.
Fuck. Oh,
First Kotex
that was
commercial.
the first one.
First one. So about 5-6 years later, I'm in New York, and the first tampon commercial. So I somehow I lucked out and I tracked my dad down. Dad, you got to put CBS. You got to put. Are you okay? You in jail? What's wrong? And so he didn't see it that night, but he saw it another night. Tampon. Okay. Now in Europe, I don't know about here, they've got a commercial with a really, really pretty young girl, Irish, sitting on a toilet. Okay, and it's a special. And then they show her taking a shower with blood coming from her crotch. She's having a period. Okay.
It's a commercial?
A commercial.
What the fuck?
Okay. Blood in the shower. And they've come up with a new kind of product that is better for when women have periods.
What the
My
fuck?
dad is rolling in his fucking grave.
Oh my
He says,
God.
"It's who gives a shit?
Jesus
Why would you do that?
Christ.
Well,
Wow.
It should be illegal."
And he was right.
He was right, and he said that.
Son of a bitch. Huh?
Okay,
That's weird.
it's just like blood. Now, when your 9-year-old daughter sees that,
Right. That's.
I would snap. I would go. I'd put my hand to. Yeah, I wouldn't be too happy about it.
no, well, and the my daughter, our daughter, who just turned 37, works for one of those big companies, and she worked in the division for incontinence. Am I saying that right? When you
Oh,
piss-
incompetent. Or,
No, when you can't hold your pee or crap, you know. The comedians say we go from diapers to diapers.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm touch wood. I'm still 30 years away from diapers. But I mean, and she says, "Daddy, that's because the only reason they have those commercials is because the public wants it."
Yeah, incontinence.
Fuck.
Yeah, it's.
And I said, Kelly, you're not a mother yet, but what if you had a little girl? Well, I'd have to deal with it.
This is the world.
Yeah.
Going back to a point you made, because I really like what you said there. You said you called Sally fat, right? And women around.
She's not any
But
stretch of
she's
imagination.
But she's not. But here's my thing on that, because I've had this.
By the way, calling
conversation.
somebody fat is a hate crime in the UK.
Is it?
It's a hate crime.
You call somebody bald, it's a hate crime.
But that.
Here, every time I say anything, they call me a bully. Everything here is you're a bully, you're a bully, you're a bully. I'm like Rob and I would be like, move this cup.
Right.
Stop being a bully. Calm down. I'm like, I'll just stay the fuck home. How about that?
But that's where I get with the fat part. I've had this discussion before. Is if you have a friend who is overweight and you call him fat, that's bullying here, and that's bad, and you shouldn't call people fat, and you shouldn't do that. But at the same time, I'm like, man, I'm looking out for my buddy. Like, you need to get yourself in
take
better
care of
shape.
yourself.
So by calling somebody fat, oh, it messes with them, it does this. It should mess with them, and it should help them say, you know what, you're fucking right, I'm fat. I got to get myself in shape to better myself. But here, it's bullying.
You know the last words out of my mother's mouth before she passed?
Sorry to hear that.
This is many years ago. She whispers in my ear in Spanish. She says, "Forgive me for leaving you my fat jeans." The last fucking words out of her. Forgive me.
It
and
could-
I said, "Mom," but she only weighed like 110 pounds. But
Right.
in her mind,
Yeah.
she had fat jeans. Okay, and I all my life I was a pudgy little kid. My grandmother, her mother, said not about fat jeans, but my grandmother and my mother were illegal aliens. They came across in 1924 from Mexico across the Rio Grande River, and so my mother didn't get legalized until she was about 31 years old. But my grandmother said, forgive me for leaving your grandfather, because when my grandfather apparently took his second and third wife without getting rid of my grandmother, who was his first wife, she left. And she said if we had stayed there, because he was a rich guy, and he was a rich guy,
That is the only way I would see it happening in the Pena family. That is the only way I could see the goodbye.
Now, it's there's so many things. Teachers, at the various universities are getting thrown out. Some of them, I believe they should be thrown out because they're passing on bullshit. But it's like the sex education now in grammar school or whatever it is. They've got soon enough for them to decide what they're going to be or how they're going to do it, let alone when the kids in the second or third grade. I mean, I know that's too young.
What are your thoughts on marriage? Do you think people should get married or?
Well, I'm old-fashioned. To have kids, I think you should be married. I know that's out of sync, but I believe that it gives some stability. But I know a lot of people don't get married and have kids. You know why? Back in the '80s was the first time. She's my partner. He's my partner. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is the true story. Why did they come up with the word partner? Because back in the day, when AIDS first appeared in the early '80s, I had a bunch of my buddies get married. As soon as the first or second study, I'm going to have all of a sudden, from being a guy that would fuck a snake if he held its head still, to now they're monogamous.
Right.
Okay. But partner is because when you wanted to signify somehow that there was some permanence to that relationship. So these are my partner. I know guys and gals today that aren't married, and they call him my partner. Okay, now are they a partner now? 10, 20 years ago, I used to tease: is he a partner in business? Is he a partner in bed? What kind of partner is he,
Right.
or he or she?
Or multiple.
But now I'd say probably 25% of the people I know have partners. Okay, and then they changed the tax law, and they did all kinds of things to make it so there's a sense of permanence that you live with somebody, not just common law wife or common law husband, that you live with somebody, and so there's some permanence. A couple of our best friends are gay gals, and when they got married, I took them both down the aisle because their parents wouldn't. Okay, so I took both of them down the aisle, and so, but the world's upside down. In Spartan times, they took the kids away from the parents at 7 or 8 years old because most of the self-esteem is built at 7, 8 years. Now, I'm not saying because the kid had a clubfoot, you should throw him in a ditch,
Right.
as the Spartans did. But the movie 300, which most people have seen,
Yeah.
one of the things in the movie that nobody talks about, and you can Google this, those 300 guys were all gay.
Really?
Correct. They found that gay lovers fighting side by side fought harder.
Wow.
Look it up.
Look that up. I
Google
bet that,
fuck it.
I believe it. I believe
Okay.
it. Yeah.
And it's it's been known for I don't know how many thousands of years ago that was, but there's certain things that just aren't developed. What I thought was unusual, or not unusual, kind of funny. Some old guy gets on. Who's the guy from Fox? The guy thrown off Fox.
Tucker.
Tucker.
Yeah.
Tucker has this guy that supposedly had sexual relations with Obama.
Oh,
Yeah. And, and he says Obama didn't act like it was the first time, or something like that.
Right.
But nobody really gives a shit about that, and I'm not saying they should give a shit about it. But a lot of things like that weren't picked up by ABC, CBS, or NBC,
Wonder why.
and and it was on Fox, and
Oh, yeah.
gay Greek. I mean, I know this shit.
Yeah,
By the
you
way,
do.
I just recently took 2 tests, and it said, and I scored very high. If you score this, your IQ is 140. But if you score this, I didn't score at 160. I scored over what. But it says you're either a PhD historian or a time traveler. Because I know a lot of shit, and and now, even though I tell people I only read 6 books, that's not quite accurate. But but look, I mean,
Yeah, it's right there.
yeah.
Wow. Hey, you know that LGBTQ, they added the plus, and the plus is for underage kids. That's what
Oh,
that
I didn't
plus
know
is. Yeah. When Dr. Robert Epstein was in here, I almost fell over.
Oh,
that
shit.
plus is for under 10. That's
Under
some
10?
sick, under 10 years old. That's some sick shit, man. Yeah.
So,
I couldn't believe it. Yeah.
Well, Rick Scott, my former lawyer, who is the senator from the state,
Yeah.
and former governor, DeSantis, I don't know, from a hole in the ground, but I do know that Rick wanted to make a difference. I thought that his name would be coming up for presidential reasons.
I
right
did
now,
too.
But it hasn't. That doesn't mean anything to me, other than I'd like him to win it again. But he is a bright fucking guy, super bright. But all the people in, and he's 68 now, I think, 67, 68. The people in the Senate, and I mean, they got people 80, 85. Feinstein, who just passed away.
They're ancient.
yeah.
One quote I saw that I'd like you to elaborate on is on Twitter, and it said, the difference between a champ and a chump is you.
You.
And we had just talked about how, you didn't have the best genetics, you didn't have the best anything, and
Correct.
you got it, right? So the difference is you. So could you elaborate on
Well,
that?
I was interviewed about, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago, and they said, what are the secrets to your
Such a
success?
good-
And I said,
such
well,
a good
I don't have any secrets other than the countless 100 to 120-hour work weeks that I had. I don't know how many I had, but I had, a bad week, I'd have 100 hours.
Now, with that, how do you stay sharp when you're not sleeping?
Well,
100 hours a week, how much do you sleep in a night?
I always knew when my body, and I used to drink like a fish. And when I lived in Manhattan, and I'm not suggesting any of you kids that this is not a go-to book how to do it, but I used to, you know, and I was single, young. I was a womanizing motherfucker, you know, and drink till, you know, 2, 3, 4 o'clock. The bars closed late, and then I'd get 2 or 3 hours sleep, and then I'd run around the park. 2 times around the park is a shade under 10 miles. And I'd puke up all the alcohol.
Yeah.
And then I'd go back to my little apartment on 27th in Lexington. We called it the bed bug because the cockroaches were that big. That big.
Unbelievable.
And the top 2 floors of the bed bug at 27th and Lex was a brothel.
Wow.
So, and they had the old kind of elevators, you know, with the metal shit
Yeah.
like this. And if you come home at 2:33 in the morning, you got lucky every once in a while.
Right.
And I mean, and and I was promiscuous isn't the right word. Whatever transcends promiscuousness.
Whenever those slid open,
Yeah,
well,
yeah. Well, yeah, come on,
whatever.
on, kid.
Let's
on,
go.
kid.
Come
Yeah, and the
Turn the lights
and
off.
I could go 3 or 4 days in those days without sleep, and I wasn't always with a buzz like Churchill supposedly was, but I to drink at lunch. I mean, 3 martini lunches. I don't know if they were invented in Manhattan, but you know, and I just did. And so, but I was hungry. The security, my boss, who just passed away a couple of years, my old boss, Bob, and my kids hate this story, used to send the security guards to come and drag me out of my cubicle and in my office to take me back to my apartment because I worked there 4 or 5 days. I go down the street 1 block and shower in the YMCA. I used to send my secretary to buy me 5 new white shirts and underwear. And I would just... When the markets opened up in 72, 73, 24-hour markets, every minute I wasn't in the office, I wasn't making money. I said, that ain't going to happen. That ain't going to happen. And I just worked my ass off.
That's motivation.
Yeah,
That is just
I was hungry.
motivation.
I was hungry. Now the kids, you know, I haven't had to work in 40 years.
Right. But they can be. Like you said, a champ and a chump is you.
Correct.
So how do you get somebody out of being a chump and turn to be a champ? I mean, nowadays,
it's not impossible, but with great difficulty.
Yeah.
With great difficulty, you know. 40% of the people that come to my seminar have been sexually abused. 40%, men and women.
Yeah.
40%. Okay. 85 or 90% of the people that are like 500-pound kind of people were sexually abused. Okay. They don't have to tell me on the one-on-one when they're crying, you know.
Not long enough.
When did it end? I always ask.
When did it end?
When did it end? When you were 7, 8, or 14, or 22? When did it end? Okay. And how do you know? I said, well, I've been doing this a long, long time. And now I was abused physically, not sexually.
Yeah.
If my dad came home and my mother said he got in trouble, the nun said this, the priest said this. Sometimes my beatings were 5, 6, 7 weeks late. 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks late. But if the nuns beat you and the priest, Father O'Brien beat you, well then I'm gonna beat you, okay? But Dad, I've done 4 or 5 other things since then. Well, I'll get to those.
Oh no.
Yeah. And I was, deathly afraid. But that's all my mother had to tell me. Well, you don't want to do this, Danny? I got to get your dad involved. Oh, Mom. I used to fall on my knees. Yep. Mom, I must have misunderstood you. Exactly what you want me to do.
Right.
Me too.
Because
Wait till
he was a terror. And as one of my good friends who just passed away would say, Walt, and the old man, my dad, used to carry 2 guns all the time. Now, he didn't sleep with the guns, but he always carried 2 guns. And back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, off-duty cops could wear guns that showed. Okay?
Yeah.
And so he always had a gun on his ankle, and he had his 8-inch Smith & Wesson, and he was a fucking
Imagine
terror.
that, them 8-inch ones. Those are,
Yeah.
They need to bring them
He used it
back.
as a pistol whip.
Yeah.
He says, and he's cracked a lot of heads. He never hit me with a gun, but I told you that maybe why I never did drugs. When I was 13 or 14, they had a course with the government, bonding with your kids or some horse shit. And so he decided he's going to bond with me. We went to play golf one time, okay, and he says, we're going to have a talk about drugs. So he sat me in the living room. My mother's over there watching the TV, and he goes to his bedroom and he pulls out his 8-inch Smith & Wesson, and he puts it to my head like this.
That's the way to fucking do it.
He pulls the hammer back like this. I can still see the bullets right there. And he says, the only cure for a motherfucking drug addict is a motherfucking bullet in your motherfucking hand, and I'm the motherfucker that'll put it there. My mother screaming, crying, Manny, you might pull the trigger. I said, no, I'll pull the trigger when he does motherfucking drugs. And I'm going to blow his brains all the way to the TV.
Did you ever do drugs?
Never.
Right.
Never. Somehow it passed me by. I've turned down more lines of coke. I mean, the first drug I had was about 5 years ago. I had a cookie made with marijuana in Amsterdam. And Sally and my
Did he know?
No, I didn't know. But I said,
Sally got you?
and I said, God damn, the food tastes good. I didn't understand.
Wait, go back. Who got you? Did Sally get you?
No. Vinica, who was my partner for 26 years in business.
Oh, this is good.
And Sally went out shopping, and they brought back a big cookie like this. And so I ate a chunk of it, and then we went out to dinner. I said, even the water tastes fucking good. I don't understand.
And you hate water.
Yeah, and I hate water. And I said, but I got this, everything, my taste buds were like, like this. And then I forgot, and I put it in my briefcase. And then Sally said, we're on the way to the airport. She says, what'd you do with the cookie? It's in my briefcase. You can't take the briefcase. But that's the only time, that's the first, last, and only time I ate a marijuana cookie. Yeah, fuck. I'd weigh 700 pounds. I mean, and then sex. Well, oh fuck!
Oh, that shit will kill you.
Yeah.
That marijuana at nighttime. I've never done a drug. Never done coke, heroin. I was too scared too.
Oh, well, I did that cookie.
Marijuana, yeah, but anything else, I was just too fucking scared. Like my grandfather was just too big and just too dangerous. It was just too dangerous that my mom would tell him, and then by the time he died, I was already too scared. So it just.
But that's exactly what's missing now is there's not a strong father figure, and you were afraid if your dad got home, what happened? I always compare it to if there's a hot stove as a kid, and you put your hand on the hot stove and burn your hand. Are you going to think twice about putting your hand on that stove next time? Yes. But there's no discipline anymore, so kids do whatever they want because they don't have that discipline or that structure in their lives.
I used to stick my tongue in light sockets.
Oh fuck!
And then I was about 2 years old or whatever, and then finally I couldn't. My tongue was too big, but then one day I stuck my finger in, and I got it in, and it blew me about. And I used to walk around. Sockets. Okay?
You got shot back 10 times.
Yeah. I mean, and then my mother tells my dad, and he says, I used to have a propensity of walking out in the street and playing in the cars, and my dad said, well, I'm going to cure Danny of this. So we used to have an old Willys. This was like 1949, 1950. I was 4 or 5 years old. And the old Willys, it had runner boards, the kind of, when you open the door, there's a board, or not a, kind of like a shelf you can stand on. And so he said that, my dad says, well, I'll hit him with a car and then he'll realize. So we're in the driveway and the runner board had a piece of chrome that was sticking out that my dad didn't know. So he hits me and it goes, and I still have the scar, goes through my right kneecap and out my left side of my kneecap. And he's dragging me. and in an old Willys, and my mother screaming and yelling, Manny. But to this day, Sally and I are going to cross the street. I put my hand in her back, and she crosses first. To this fucking day. Yesterday, when we went for a walk, to this day,
right,
she steps out before I do. That was 70 plus years ago.
I tell you.
I remember.
Yeah.
What do you think it is with all these whistleblowers? All of a sudden, you got the UFO whistleblowers, which I want to know if you think there's actual UFOs.
Well, I believe there's other people. I've
here?
never had an experience. Well, I believe other people have had experiences. I've never had anything like that. But I know some pretty credible guys. The former Minister of Science for Canada, who went before whatever the Canadian equivalent of Congress is, and as he was retiring when he was 78 or something like that, he said, and I believe, he's got no reason to go up there and bullshit. But I believe the reason why they haven't come and bothered us because we're too fucking stupid. We're not trainable.
But do you think we have any piece of a craft? I just can't.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know that. I don't know
it's just a matter of. I do
know
how
Pete Conrad, God rest his soul, the third guy to walk on the moon, who I worked with. He said that although he didn't encounter, he says that other people in the astronaut program had encountered. It's like the first guys that went to the moon that were coming back, Buzz Aldrin and a couple other guys, and they said that they saw shit. We just wanted to get home. We didn't give a fuck what it was.
It's just weird to me because it's always somebody else. They saw, somebody else saw, somebody else said, but nobody has this. And I don't know any time in America where there isn't somebody with a big mouth with something other than this particular situation. And then they bring up the UFO and the testimony to divide or to distract right when we're going through the Hunter Biden and Biden maybe getting impeached. I don't know what happened then. Was that the Hawaii thing so
Hawaii
that they could build?
fire.
I mean, where they burnt down Hawaii? Isn't it kind of odd that it's right there on Ocean Land Strip?
Why did the houses that were painted blue or green? I forget which color.
Yeah, maybe.
Oprah Winfrey.
The Rock.
Yeah, and all their houses somehow got painted before the fire got to them.
And it looks like they're going to be able to build some nice oceanfront property
yeah.
pretty soon, huh? Yeah. What would be your solution with the war on drugs? Because our solution doesn't work here. I know Portugal, right? They have pretty much everything legal. They seem to have a good outcome. I don't know.
If we had some kind of really strict enforcement, but we're not going to. With California is a prime example of everything that sunny California was famous for is now gone.
I used to love California.
Okay, and I've got people that got a lot of money that live there that are coming to Florida, or they're going to Europe. A lot of people I know are going to Switzerland, where they're pretty civilized. We're past it. When the asteroid hits us in 2182, nobody cares. But we can still make a lot of money, and to the extent that, and I tell the kids, make money, then try to change the world. Don't try to change the world without making the money, because nobody's going to listen to you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to the extent that I've influenced, 2-3 million people, I've created at least 1 million millionaires, and in my lifetime. But they come to me saying they want to change the world. As soon as they make $25 million, they don't give a fuck about the world. Now, I used to keep track of this from 97 to 2011. I kept track of. You'd come in and I've got files on people. I could write a fucking book. Tommy wants this. 5 years later, I see him on CNN or some shit. He made $800 billion. Well, wait a minute. And we didn't talk about saving the penguins. And what happened to all that shit?
Just got content, blew it away, and then keep going.
Yeah.
It happens more than that. I love the Dan Told You So, and I saw you've been doing it like once a month on YouTube. I've been seeing them. Talk a little bit about that. They've been so right. I think you should go hard.
Well, I have about 300 Dan Told You So's on Scottish politics. Everything I predicted, unfortunately, has happened. It's hard for the Scots, for any people, I've been right about a lot of things. But it's not that, even though I am smart and I have a high IQ, so I'm not trying to shun that. But some of the stuff is, I don't like to say common sense.
13 million.
But I'm busting the balls of the politicians. But in business. And I said at the beginning of the interview, I'm not going to get credit for, changing the finance for the poor man. I'm just not. Maybe 100 years after I'm dead. But about the same time that the fucking asteroid hits us, it's probably when I'm going to get credit. But, I've showed people how to make a lot of money creating wealth with none of your own. And the two biggest levers in life are other people, OPM, and other people's money. Donald Trump, I may be wrong about this, but he hasn't put any of his own money in a deal in a long time. Okay, whether it's overinflated or not. Okay, Elon Musk wouldn't even be an asterisk on history if it wasn't for the two $500 million grants Obama gave him. One for space fuck and one for the one that went out of business. What was the one that went out of business?
Whoa. Obama gave him two what?
$500 million government, now under the Obama administration. Obama himself didn't.
Right.
Okay? But he wouldn't even be PayPal, and those 3 or 4 guys he found a PayPal with, and he walked away with 20, 30 million. God bless him, okay? But, I mean, SpaceX and...
SpaceX, Tesla, the tunnels, the rockets.
Yeah, but I mean, one of them that went belly up is one of the $500 million deals he got from the government. But the government, I mean, will always pay more and demand less since the Civil War.
I want to ask you about Scotch because I know you're doing that. I can't believe that I read your post and then I went into their articles. The Scottish Daily Express, they're still with this COVID shit, huh? They're still doing all that whole. Could you explain?
Well, I mean, it's hard to find anybody with a mask in Scotland. Certain people. Last night, where we had dinner, which is a famous restaurant here, there were maybe 2 people had masks out of 110 or 20 or 30. 2. Okay. Now I've had all my shots. I'm not an anti-shot guy, but I've had 5. Boosters or whatever. Once you get over 75, the NHS really, because those are the people that are in the crosshairs supposedly. That a lot of us died.
Yeah.
But so I'm pretty well taken care of. Plus, Sally is a meticulous, crazy, taking care of me. She wants to make sure I live a long time. But I don't worry about that stuff. All I worry about is tomorrow, how can I have a project where I put no money up, I don't guarantee anything, using somebody else's money, not because it's a fraud or anything, and make some more kids rich, wealthy. And by the way, a new study came out, I think Harvard or Princeton. What number do you think wealth is considered in the United States? How much money?
I would say right now in 2023.
Last month.
Last month, I would say 50,000.
30 million.
30 million.
That's wealth
That's wealth.
in America, supposedly.
I thought they would say 50,000
No.
because.
Well, I mean,
it's just shit.
the average income for a couple is, I think, $62,000 in America,
Yeah, so I thought
which is only 10 or 20% above minimum wage.
Right.
and that's pretty much, and that's what it is. Like I don't know many people making, that work a 9 to 5 or whatever, making more than 50 a year.
Yeah. Well, our kids make 6-figure, actually middle 6-figure, and I'm not demeaning our children, but I mean.
They got the best mentor.
Yeah, well,
I mean, they kind of got some things.
No, but they don't listen to me. It's like a menu. You go to a Chinese restaurant. Oh, I'll take a little Szechuan this, a little this, but it's a potpourri. They pick and choose what they
take with
what they take exactly. And so when they both got out of school, they both took a year gap year, some shit between undergraduate and graduate. And I said when they went to work, I said, be there, be the first in the building with the trash people, clean out the trash, and be last to leave.
Last to leave.
And make 300 calls a day. And both of them asked me the same question. Who's going to notice? Well, probably the second guy in the building is going to be the chairman of the CEO. And they'll notice. And both of them got noticed, okay? And I can tell you right now, there's not 100 people in the United States of America that make, and because you're always, when you join the big companies, even if you went to Harvard, you join in some sort of sales trainee program, okay? Because most of the people come up the sales ladder. And I said, there's not 50 people in America that make 300 cold calls a day.
Now, see, they took that route. They took the initiative. They stayed later. They were there early. What do you see now with this society, the most common mistakes that people make?
They think you can do it in a couple hours a day.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing you're seeing.
Now, this 10,000 hour bullshit that you hear, that I don't believe in that. 10,000 hours and you're an expert. But I do know, even the people I had dinner with last night, nobody. See, I'm just a salesman that refined his skills selling governments up to, I'm just a salesman. I used to move 200 cars. I used to sell cars.
Yeah, I remember.
200 fucking cars a month.
Jeez.
Where was that?
In Los Angeles, Beverly Hills.
BMW?
Yeah, no, it was Continentals and Eldorado Cadillacs.
Eldorado.
And I said, nobody to this day has ever heard of, dreamt of anybody that moves 200 fucking units by himself, not wholesale bullshit. 200. When I was in Beverly Hills, if you were driving a, let's see, this would have been 72. If you were driving a 69 town car, Lincoln.
All right, give me your pitch. I'm coming in to get a car.
No. I would, because there's two systems in the car sales. It's the up. In other words, there's three salesmen. You get the next guy, I get the next guy, and you get the next guy. Or it's every man for himself. I liked every man for himself systems, but I used to dominate those. So, but if you have 10 or 12 salesmen, so I would leave the showroom, and I would go to the busiest intersection, and you stop at a signal with your 69 town car. I would jump in the front seat with you and say, a man like you must, is this a chick magnet for you? Yeah. Well, you deserve a better car. You get laid more. And I had a different pitch for women. Doesn't your husband think any more of you than a car 4 or 5 years old? I moved units like a motherfucker.
Because then she went home and bitched, and he
correct.
Yep, and then they go,
Peña, you motherfucker.
And I sold a lot of units. And in those days, see, now you make maybe $50 on a car. We used to sell undercoating, and I didn't even know this, for that you would use in Boston because of salt on the roads. There's no salt in fucking Beverly Hills. But I mean, it was $275 if you sold the undercoating, of which you got $75.
right.
Yeah.
You fucking need that undercoating.
What throughout your life would you say so far has been the most challenging? And I know it's tough to narrow it down, but just the time that pops in your head where if somebody's watching this and, you're a big figure, you've been around forever, you're just unstoppable. What's a challenging time that you had
I thought wrongfully, naively, and I had a chip on my shoulder bigger than this fucking desk, that I didn't go to an Ivy League school.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And then I hired my first Harvard guy, and not just hiring these guys, but the first guy from Yale that I fired. And I said, fuck, I guess that Ivy League doesn't mean, And I went to school you got to explain about, which a school doesn't like, because it was San Fernando Valley State College when I graduated. 2 years later, they got university status. So they sent me a new diploma. And so instead of going through that little thing, I went to a school you got to explain about. And but yeah, I thought that, and now I'd say, as Warren Buffett said just at the last annual meeting, we got jobs where you have no education, paying $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 a year. But the new system, which I predicted about 5 or 6 years ago, it's called outcome management. Netflix uses it, Siemens uses it, Toyota uses it. It is, okay, you got a job, this is your quota.
And you mean Siemens like the one that owns all the malls?
Yeah, correct. The one that I was with for 10 years. Okay. Tommy, you got this quota, whatever it is. 100, 500, okay. Monthly. I don't want to see you. I don't care. As long as it's legal, moral, and ethical, I don't care how you do it. But if you don't meet that outcome, you're fired. You want to start the job or don't you?
Let's go.
Okay?
Let's go.
Outcome management is the future. It's the only survival technique that's left for corporate world.
That's how it's going to be.
Outcome.
Yep.
Because now people can work from home. I don't believe in that myself, but people can work from home. Okay, I don't give a fuck if you work from the beach, you work from a whorehouse, or steam bath. This is your fucking quota.
Do it.
Now, the best outcome management is no salary. That's it. And guys with big nuts and gals with big, whatever the equivalent of big nuts, will take those jobs. I'll take those jobs anytime.
And I agree with you, but why do you think working from home's a negative?
Well, because most people need support. I didn't need any support, okay? But most people need support. And now mental health, people talk about it all the time. My dad had what used to be called battle fatigue. for 60 years. Okay, he never got any treatment. I'm not saying to do that, please, believe me. But he just it comes with it's like Obama's got a commercial on CNN, not a commercial. He says democracy will work if we fight for it. Duh. But nobody wants to hear that.
Right,
Okay.
right.
And but Obama's telling, I forget, I'm poor, whatever her name is. Democracy will work if we fight for it. If we don't fight for it, it's not going to work. So my dad just thought that was a byproduct of going to the war.
Byproduct of the war, yeah. And now they call it the PS.
Yeah. But unfortunately, I know a lot of guys suffer from that, and it's terrible. But it's a byproduct.
Yeah, we try to have as many vets in. Like he started breeding dogs so that when the vets come back, they have a dog.
Yeah.
Well, Anthony Longo. So we try to keep pushing up with that. Now with the big business, Chat GPT, who got them? Gates has his fingers in there now. So now in big business and business that you're doing, are you guys using Chat GPT for some things, or some of your
some of our companies?
Your companies?
I'm the chairman of 19 companies, of which I have equity ownership, and we're outcome.
Right.
Unless they can really get in a problem. Then they pull out the old dog,
Yeah.
But if not, the rest of the board helps supervise them, but it's outcome. I'm not interested in any of the bullshit.
Just the outcome.
We grew at 125% during Corona.
Wow.
125%.
That's unbelievable.
And nobody used it as an excuse. I'm not saying a lot of people didn't suffer. I'm not saying that, but a lot of people didn't suffer. And were able to, find a niche. They found an opening, as this or that, and they developed a new product. But what it really took is they went from 75 hours. We used to have an average of about 77 hours a week per all my employees for all the companies I'm involved with.
77 hours a week per person.
It went up to 95 hours
during COVID. Corona. What? To keep them busy, right?
But everything. There's people are going out of business. And I mean, there's unfortunately a lot of hopefully, I don't know about my kids, but a lot of the kids took advantage of those programs. They were getting free money.
Yeah.
We didn't apply for $1 in any of our companies. We didn't lay anybody off. We paid bonuses all the way through Corona.
Well, and you kept everybody happy and kept it moving and kept it going. Yeah, it did a number here, and it kind of seems like that COVID was the first sign publicly of what you're talking about, where that was the beginning of just the total separation, the total everything, even though they were working on it since, 18, 16, which I'm sure you're aware of, Could you tell everyone the story of Kleinfelter? Because I know
Kleinfeld.
Yeah, I would say his name. Because that one, I remember when he first came in. Because you were doing clips back then on YouTube. So if you could, just a little bit about him.
Right now, he came as a middle manager at Siemens to me, and he wanted his goal was to be on the corporate executive board. And I said, well, I'll work with. Anyway, that was 1997. In 2005, he became CEO of Siemens, the 20th largest company in the world. He is from a poor family. He learned English on the U.S. Army radio station in Germany. I forget the name of it. And he went on to become CEO of Siemens. He went on to be CEO of Alcoa. He went on to be CEO of Arconic. He went on to be CEO of the biggest deal in the world, NEOM, $500 billion deal in Saudi.
Mr. Pena, how old was he?
What?
How old was he?
Well, when he came to me, he was 39, 39. He's 64 now. It's been 25 years. And he's a big thinker. He was the natural to be the first CEO of Neon. He has got a work ethic, a hard working fucking guy. Super smart. And Klaus, if you're listening to this, you're not as smart as you think you are, but you're fucking smart. So it works. You know, not a dissimilar story. Senator Rick Scott, who was my lawyer, and I made a bunch of money on a deal. We're at the Park Lane Hotel in New York back in the late 80s. And he says, Dan, I need to make your kind of money. And I said, well, you got to leave me. So that means, and I pushed him out the door, and he went to work for Sid and Perry Bass down in Fort Worth. And he took his own $100,000 and he founded Columbia Healthcare, you know, the largest healthcare company in the world. So you can do it, but you gotta want it.
Yeah, I knew his partner. He got in trouble with Jamie Dimon. I'm sure you know Lance.
Yeah,
we could talk about him sometime when I come to see you and we have dinner.
Okay.
Pull up all of Dan's sites. I know you got.
Is it 5?
Yeah, you got to.
Okay, I got to leave in 5 minutes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
What's next?
Oh, we're just gonna pull up the
your
sites.
site right here.
Yep, just pull up the site so everybody can go.
Where are we now?
We're in Palm Beach Island, so right down the street is Mar-a-Lago.
I know. I just passed it coming.
Yeah,
with a big American flag, those big walls.
yeah.
And I thought of the same thing you mentioned about 20, 30, or an hour ago. Is that thing worth only $18 million?
Right.
I'd buy it.
Yeah.
If I can buy Mar-a-Lago,
Right.
I will write a check.
Sally will be happy,
I rank it with one of the best investments I ever made.
and I'll rent a place over with you.
Yeah.
So anybody wants to check out Dan Pena, go to the website, your Instagram, YouTube is awesome.
5 years ago, I had 6,000 people on social media. 5 years ago. I now got a couple million.
Right.
Amazing. But I missed the internet. If it wasn't Brian Rose, thank you very much, he introduced me to the social media. I just missed it, you know. And I don't know how I missed it, but I missed it because I thought that everybody, and it's not dissimilar, everybody on the gurus,
Yeah.
that their fallback was because they weren't making any fucking money. Even today, most of the gurus are broke.
They are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but
A lot are.
they're fucking broke.
Brian
and-
Rose, he's a story.
Yeah, he
There is 10 guys that went to see you and then him just from that.
yeah.
Yeah, London
Sure.
Real. Unbelievable.
He's a smart guy. But it doesn't take smart. It just doesn't. It just takes you working your balls off.
All right, well, we'll have every link in the description. We'll have everything there at the
Thank
very
you very
top.
much.
So
I
everybody get in
appreciate that.
there, get to all your events, and I will be there if accepted
well,
at the castle.
Fine.
And
are you going to let me take my
Yeah, I thought it was making. Thought it was
for
making.
my McDonald's cup? For
I thought it was making the microphone buzz. That's why I moved them. The metal.
This is well, you see what because the last time we talked, I was on my stage, and so
Yeah, with the last time you had the
$1
back.
trillion
The $1 trillion man.
somebody came up to me on the plane, flying first class 2 days ago, and a big tall guy, German guy, said, "Excuse me, sir, you look familiar." I said, "Well, yeah," and he says, "Are you famous?" I go, "To some people." "Well, who are you?" "A $1 trillion man." And then his wife, "Oh, well, we know you." Blah, blah, blah. But they thought I was Sir Anthony Hopkins because Sir Anthony looks kind of like me, but he's about 7-8 inches shorter than I am.
Yeah.
And so
That's funny.
I've even signed autographs Anthony Hopkins before. And then I put an asterisk by, and then So, but that's why we don't, other than across the water like the Atlantic or Pacific, we don't fly commercial anymore because it's a pain.
Just a pain.
I like the following, but I don't like the follow-up of everybody wanting to have a selfie and shit like that.
Right.
So we fly private planes other than, like when we go up to New York, it'll be on a private plane. But when we go back to London in 10 days or 2 weeks, we'll be on I think we're on a British Air again. But anyway, thank you very much for inviting me.
Hey, thank you for your
I know,
time.
yeah,
Anytime you're in town, please stop by.
Okay,
This is your second home, buddy.
okay,
Come on.
thank you
And
very
Sally, buy that place down here. Talk them into it.
yeah,
Come on.
Yeah.
Happy wife, happy life.
I knew that.
Sally, please.
And the salespeople are saying, that. Of course, it's a plus to somebody to be a neighbor of Trump. Well, one of the guys, my Cuban gangsters from last night, is 2 houses down from him. Okay. And so,
Come on, you have all the reason in the world to move down.
but the last
And
time
I got a
was
good
at
barber
Mar-a-Lago,
for you.
it was for a deal, and it took us 2.5 hours to get through the security.
Oh well, yeah.
Yeah, it's a pain in the butt.
Mar-a-Lago was only
And
18 million.
then President Trump was 3 hours late, and I'm not blaming him, but I mean the security is a pain in the, and his neighbors I don't know what it's like to be the guy that actually lives next door to him, but
I don't know about next door to him, but maybe move down that way, a little bit away. But Sally, get on him.
Okay,
All right, Dan.
thank you very
Thank you for your time, sir.
you.
Thank you so much.